With the initial setup of the Mergetool done, it's time to import some of the NAV versions. And I'm going to import my W1 versions. I'm going to do a 5.0 Service Pack 1 and my 2009 R2 in here. So first I need to export all my objects, and I could use Object Export, but I actually just going to go to my Object Designer and select anything that is in the range from until 49,000 or 99,000 and forward. And that happens to be all the base objects in this database. So I'm then going to export those ones to text. It's normally a very good idea when exporting something to text to also export it to FOB at the same time, actually. So if you do it to FOB format also, a lot of time during mergers, sometimes you only want to import merged objects if you absolutely have to merge. Anything you can deal with from FOB format or binary format, it's a much better option actually. So I'm going to export these objects both as FOBs, but I'm also going to export them as text. And that's going to allow me later on, as I do merges, if I make a wrong object or put something in that should not from the text file, I can always import from the FOB file. And it's important to keep a naming that is consistent with it. So I'm exported that one. The other thing, I want to compare something. So let me uncompress a 5.0 Service Pack 1 database. So I extract this one here, and then I will open up that database. If you export 5.0 code with a 5.0 executable, there's going to be differences compared to 2009 executable actually. So a lot of times when you go to 2009, you really want to export the older code with the newer executable that is the end version you're going to as a result of that. Because if you do that one, there's some conversions in the code that are getting done automatically. So let's close this database here and open up my 5.0 database. And it wants to convert the database, and that's fine. And I now have this one, so I go to the Object Designer and again export everything in here to my file, and I'll just put in this one that is actually a 2009 a R2 executable in here. So I'm not making the assumption later on that this one actually was the right code in here. And again, I export it first to FOB. It has the advantage if you have a very large object cache that all the objects get into the object cache, and when you actually export to text afterwards, it runs faster because all the objects now sit in memory instead of needing to retrieve them from disk. Another reason you really need to put a large object cache out. Okay, so now I have my files I need, so I'll close this database and go back and open up my Mergetool database. This database is only 400 megabyte right now, and that's not even close to what it needs to be. The other thing is, what company should I import all this into? I could import it into my Mergetool here, but this one really going to be versions that are kind of going to keep. So I'm actually going to create a new company in here. And I'll call it just Mergetool W1 versions. Again, the setup initializes by itself in here. Then I'm going to import my object text file. And before I filled in the version, so let's just import the 5.0 first in here. And I'll just put a reminder for myself in here that it actually is exported with that one. And I guess I'm not allowed to use these characters. There's certain characters in here that are not allowed. The reason for that is that behind the scene, the Mergetool do filtering, and anything that is related to filtering characters are not allowed in here in the versions. So I can go in, select my file in here. And one thing that is really important down here is to actually put the same version down here again. And now I can put a longer explanation in here, what it actually is in here. One of the biggest pitfalls in the Mergetool is actually that you don't know what a version is, or you import the wrong file. By making these three the same, then it's actually going to be easier afterwards to figure out what went wrong if something's not working. In this case, this one actually is in the Vision version, and I want to check this one. So anything that comes from Microsoft is basically an Vision version. It's used several places in the code during the merge process to actually verify that you select the right versions and things like that. So I'll just check the Vision version now. For anything else that is customizations, you say that it's based on the Vision version, and as you will see later on, it actually will have an effect on how it maintains version list and things like that. But else, I'll just import this one, and it will run for a while. Yeah. One thing I'm probably also going to do is run my database full, actually, because I only have 400 megabytes, and with the native server or the native database, it didn't auto-expand the database, actually. So I think I'm just going to stop this one and expand the database. Each version takes between 500 and 800 megabytes in the database, so it can easily be a huge database when you get several versions of it. I know some people that have like half a terabyte databases with all the information. It's running on a server, of course, but everybody then share all the information that is in there. So, and the request string remains in there, so I can now just import it. So the 5.0 service pack 1 has been imported. Next thing is to import my 2009. So I go into import again, and one of the things here, this assist edit, it's actually nice to bring back values. So if you have something that is very close to it, you can actually use the assist edit to look up, to put in all the right values for the first many fields. But then I'll select my 2009 Service Pack 1 down here, and I'll ensure that I have my text down here matching this one also. And this one, of course, is not executed. Again, it's in the Vision version because it comes from Microsoft, and I'll click OK. The import of 2009 are two finished also in here. So I now have two versions in here. And I can see the number of objects and things like that one. I can actually go in here, also run a compare of these objects in here. Since I'm kind of going to keep this one as a repository, I don't really want to do this inside this company in here. So let me switch back to my original company, the Mergetool company. So I'm going to open up that one. And what I'm going to do is copy versions from other companies, and it really don't copy anything. It just makes a reference to another company, and I can see in this company I actually have two versions in here. And I put in two references in here, and you can see they're grayed out, and that's because the data actually exists in another company. Anything in the Mergetool that is not a visual operation, meaning that you can't see, not seeing any records, but the code behind the scene just works with it, will work with these ones. So if I actually want to compare these two versions in here, I can now select the compare objects in here, and I could filter on a certain range, but I can also go in here and say, yeah, I want to compare my 2009 with my 5.0 Service Pack 1. I could select delete equal objects. It didn't make a lot of sense because I'm in a different company in here now. So I, of course, won't affect those versions. They're kind of protected, so nobody can by accident delete records in them unless you're inside that company. But I can click OK in here, and it will actually now go through and do the compare of these objects in here. And the compare commits by object, so I can actually just hit cancel now, and I will have a lot of objects compared. I can see out here I have something called contrast headers, and a contrast header is the difference between two versions. So I can see that table number 3 was changed 4.707% out here, and like that one, all the tables in the system in here. If I go down, take a look at the sales header down here, table number 36. I don't have a name because the flow field don't calculate across companies, but that will be one of the only missing things in here. So I can see there's 7.8% change in that one. If I go look at my contrast, I can actually look at the lines and also have a compare. The only difference between those two is this one is more like a text log where it just keeps on going down here all the time, showing the differences, using color coding to make it more visual. The other thing is if I take the compare, it shows those next to each other. And this one is the first screen that actually uses the screen resolution in the setup. It basically resizes based on your current resolution to fit the width of your screen. I have functions in here to say next change, and I can just keep on jumping through the code, and it actually moves both of them here at the same time. And I also have scroll buttons down here, so I can scroll pages, I can scroll individual lines. This one is pages and the individual lines like this one. So this one is just nice to be able to see the changes in here. One thing that makes a lot more sense about the changes than the 7.8% out here is actually the number of groups out here. Because if you're going to have a large customization, you're going to add a lot of fields maybe on the sales header table. But all that code is going to be in one single block, and it's going to be easy to deal with. And that's why the number of groups out here makes a lot more difference, or makes a lot more sense for actually figuring out how changed the code is. And again, a change group where code used to be one way and now is a different way is tougher to deal with than an inserted group. Because an inserted group, you basically just have to figure out where it goes, and then you're done with merging that. Deleted groups is kind of like insert. It's also easy to find that. You won't see that typically in a lot of custom applications because you normally leave Microsoft's code alone, and then you just add your own code. So, but programming with this in ours, where it actually is a lot easier to deal with inserted groups, that's can be a huge benefit actually to do that one this way. But basically, the whole group concept out here is one that tells you a lot more about how complex it's actually going to be to merge something. So yeah, so this one is the two versions in here, and I have from W1 here and those ones, but the version actually exists in the other company, but I can also go in here and export a log of the changes in here. And again, I can filter on what I want to include in it. It defaults to the same file name, but I can go in here and say this one is 5.001. So I know what my log actually contains in here. There are several formats depending on how you like to see the log, but I'm just going to select the default one in here. And I can also go in and say only include object that changes and don't show me any object properties. And let's just go ahead and don't do any of that right now. and my log gets pretty short now because I only have these few things in here. So wasn't that why it's up here. And I can see the same thing that I saw almost inside the log. I just get this one out. But a lot of things only have date and time changes and things like that one in here. So there's a few things I can do with the merge tool. If I'm going to upgrade somebody and they have only date and time changes in here, under advanced, um, I can go in and use this one, find object property changes in here. So after you compare, I can go in and say, yeah, I want to find the object that only had changes to my object properties. And it trying to read some code from that version, I guess. So you can only do that if you actually have the version inside this company for doing the object properties. It's really also only intended for upgrading a customer version because, yeah, a lot of times you end up by accident saving an object or the date and time get changed or things like that one. So you can actually have issues with that one in here. So, yeah. What else? What it would have changed in here is in my contrast, it would have went in and changed this one to only object properties in here. So I could actually see that these objects only had object properties changes in here. If I went and exported my compare log again, and I actually said, no, I don't want to have objects that only that are the same, and I don't want any object properties any longer. I'll just give it a new name out here. And as I now go through and export that log, if I manually has to verify this one, I got rid of a lot of things in here. Then I don't have to look at it any longer. So now I have the real changes in here, and not all the date, time, version list that I don't really care about for just seeing the information in here of what is functional or changed in the object. And I've compared my two versions in here, but let's take a look at how you actually would compare another one. I have one of Lanham's add-on the eShip product in here, and I can go here and extract the database in here. And again, I want to go export the objects with the right executable here. So let's go close this database and open up the other one that I just imported in here. So 5.0 Lanham, this one is a database. And the first thing I need to do is convert it. That's really interesting. What I'm going to do, instead of basing it on the database, I'm actually going to import the objects in. So that's a FOB file. Then I'm going to take my database that I created here before and paste it down here. And then I'm going to open up that database instead. That one is already converted. And then I'll just go and import my objects. This one is my Lanham objects. And I had 140 replaced, 100 or 1100 new ones in. And all these objects that I imported has ES in the version list out here. ES 0 actually. SE. shipping API. So this one is all the objects that are modified. Normally, you don't want to rely on the version list being right. So in that case, you would actually go in and say, yeah, I don't want to have a filter on that one. I just want to export everything in here and basically go and see what the difference is. So in here, I'll just go down here and say this one is again, both in FOB and text. The FOB take a little time, but it actually makes the text run faster because it loads the object cache with all the objects required for cross-referencing during the export to text format. So let's close this database again and open up my Mergetool database. In this one, I could actually decide that I want to do a different company here. Now I want to keep on working in this one. So in this case, I want to import an object text file. And this one is SE056. Let me just take a look at the version in here, 5506. And it's in 5.0 Service Pack 1 in here. I don't have room to say it's actually exported with a 2009 executable, but I will put that in my text later on down here. So this one is an SE05506. So this one is not an Navision version any longer, but it's actually based on a Navision version. So I'm going to select the version that this one is based on. And this one is important for maintaining the version list during a merge, but that's really the only time when this based on version list is actually used. Another thing I can do, I did a manual compare. I can actually go in here and say, as I import, after I finished importing, I actually want to compare to this version, delete all the equal objects, and export my log down here. So I can go immediately and actually do a lot of things as I do the import. If I also do an upgrade merge, I can actually go in and say I only want to import the one that is in 5.0 because all the other objects I'm going to deal with from the FOB format. So you can reduce the number of objects you import to only be the one that you would actually need to merge. I'm just going to leave that blank for now so I can see my new objects also. But then I just need to start my import, and this one is going to run for a while because first it will import all the objects, put it in the database, and commit it as it finished all the objects. And then it will start comparing and committing each time it finished one single object in there. So as it starts compare, you can stop it, and then it would actually be possible to go in and restart it later on if you needed to for the compare. So the import is now reading the last objects in here, and as that finish, it's now going to start the compare of the object, but it has committed now. So if you want to stop, you could actually go ahead and do that now. The compare is now at the last few objects in here, so it's going to soon show me the status. So it's the compare finished, and 3,441 objects were actually equal and has been deleted from this database. It also showed me what is imported and it was compared against that database. So the last thing I did was I actually already put the check mark in that I want to do the log, and I can now just click OK. And yeah, it took some processing time, but I have probably only spent a few minutes doing this one, and I could have been doing something in the meantime. So if I now look at that version, I'll see I have a lot of contrast in here. And if I this one a little bigger, I can see some in here where I actually only have changes to object properties in here. I don't really, or I have a insert a group also out here. If I had some here with only object properties, I could actually go in and use that report to compare those ones. But I don't think there should be anything in here. This one is a pretty clean release. So I'll go find the object property changes, and I say I want to delete the equal ones. If I don't say delete equal, it will actually just change the status. And there was one contrast in here that was changed. So if we go filter here for only object property changes, I can see that code unit 12, there was actually only only changes to the object properties in here. So there was no changes, there was only just a version list, and it must be based on a previous fix that was in that one. So if I run this one again, I don't really need to deal with that object, so I'll just delete the objects if they have the same in here. So now one object has been deleted, and I don't have to deal with that one for later merges. The log that I created, of course, is in the folder now, and I can go here and look at all the changes, everything that was added based on this solution I imported in here. As I imported these objects, I actually went in my import worksheet in here and said that they're based on this version. To see what actually happened, if I go to the objects in here, I can go in and take a look at my payment terms, for example, and look at my card for that one. My version list was the part that came from Microsoft plus something that came from an add-on. This one has now been updated down here, and I can see an added version list. So this one is only the portion that is going to be added on top of another version list when you actually do a merge later on. So this one is important to point at the right version. And if you didn't do that during the import, you can actually go to the version card, set the based on version in here, and then go back to the objects, select all the objects up here, and then say update added version list for selected in here. So that basically means it will go and rerun that calculation. So you can always fix it later if you import them wrong by accident and forget to do that.